In short, the story you're about to hear is shaking the entire hip-hop world. Lil Durk's baby mama India Royale was allegedly ambushed and abused by NBA YoungBoy's men, and what was once just a beef between two rap stars is now escalated into something far bigger, far darker, and far more dangerous. It's no longer Durk versus YoungBoy. It's YoungBoy versus the streets. And the streets don't forgive, they don't forget, and they don't play when it comes to breaking the code. Now, let's break this all down from the beginning, because this is more than just gossip. This is the kind of situation that has the potential to change careers, shift alliances, and even rewrite the future of hip-hop itself. The rivalry between Lil Durk and NBA YoungBoy has been brewing for years. It started off as competitive energy between two of the most influential young rappers in the game. But over time, the tension grew into something that spilled outside the booth and into the streets. Von's death only intensified things. King Von, who was one of Durk's closest allies and signed to OTF, lost his life in a confrontation that allegedly involved associates of YoungBoy. That moment was not just tragic, but also a spark that ignited a firestorm of animosity between camps, and ever since then, the streets have been watching closely. But now this latest move, this alleged ambush of India Royale, is being viewed as crossing a line that no one thought YoungBoy would dare cross. India Royale is not just some random person in Durk's circle. She's a mother of his child, his on and off partner, and someone who has always been seen as protected and untouchable. Street code dictates that family is off limits. Even in the most vicious beefs, there are lines you don't cross. Women, kids, and mothers are always supposed to be safe from violence. But when word broke out that YoungBoy's men allegedly cornered and abused India, the hip-hop world gasped. For Durk, this wasn't just a shot at him. It was a violation of every unwritten rule that governs the streets. And if you know anything about Durk, OTF, or Chicago street politics, then you know that something like this will not just go unanswered. The story, according to close insiders, is that India was ambushed in what seemed like a planned setup. Reports say that men connected to YoungBoy confronted her in a way that left her shaken, embarrassed, and disrespected. While details of the exact incident are still blurry, what's clear is that it wasn't just random. It had intent behind it. The intent wasn't about money, wasn't about robbery. It was about sending a message to Durk. And the message was loud and clear. YoungBoy isn't afraid to hit below the belt in this war. But here's the problem with that strategy. It might win him a moment of shock value, but it also makes him a target to forces much bigger than Durk himself. Because in the streets, when you break code, you break trust, and when you break trust, even your own allies start to question how far you'll go. That's why many insiders are now saying this isn't just OTF versus YoungBoy. It's YoungBoy versus the streets. And the streets don't bend rules for anyone, not even for someone as powerful and influential as YoungBoy. Rappers, gangsters, hustlers, and even neutral figures who never picked a side in this beef are now looking at YoungBoy differently. Because if he can allow his camp to allegedly put hands on a woman, on Durk's woman no less, what does that say about the respect he has for the code that holds the game together? Let's take a moment to talk about India herself, because she's not just a bystander in all this. India Royale is a big part of Durk's brand, his image, and his personal life. Fans love her, and she represents stability for him. When she's hurt, it hurts Durk in ways deeper than music or money. And for someone like Durk, who already has enemies stacking against him, this move puts immense pressure on him to respond. Because if he doesn't, people will say he let it slide. That's not just bad for his personal pride. It's bad for his image as a man who stands on loyalty and honor. This is why so many people are convinced OTF is plotting something serious in response. But retaliation isn't just about Durk anymore. That's the twist here. Retaliation is now about the streets making an example. In every corner of the hip-hop world, people are saying the same thing. YoungBoy went too far. Even those who quietly rooted for YoungBoy in this beef are shaking their heads. And let's be real, YoungBoy has been one of the most unpredictable, defiant, and wild figures in hip-hop. His fans love him for it. But his enemies see it as recklessness. This move only fuels that narrative. Now, you've got to understand, the beef between these two already had massive consequences. Affiliates lost their lives. Songs became diss records. Fans picked sides and split the culture down the middle. But the thing about beef in hip-hop is that it usually stays within certain boundaries. You diss on a track, You flex on social media. Maybe there's a confrontation between entourages. But when you touch family, that's when everything changes. That's why this story is hitting so hard, because it feels like the beef has crossed into dangerous new territory that even OGs are warning against. Let's zoom out and look at what this means for YoungBoy. He's already on shaky ground with many people in the industry. His legal troubles, his house arrest, and his constant disses at other rappers have created a storm around him. But he's always had one thing: his fans. His fan base is one of the most loyal in hip-hop, and they ride for him no matter what. But the streets are not fans. The streets don't stream your music for entertainment. The streets measure your actions against the code. And when you violate the code, you make enemies you can't buy off or outstream. That's why people are saying this might be the move that sets YoungBoy on a path he can't turn back from. Durk, on the other hand, has been quiet since the alleged incident. Too quiet, some would say. But if you know Durk, you know silence doesn't mean weakness. Silence usually means plotting. The same man who stood beside Vaughn and held OTF together after multiple losses is not going to let this slide. Insiders say OTF is preparing to shake the world with how they respond, and if history tells us anything, it's that Durk always comes back harder when people try to play him. What's even scarier is that Durk might not even need to make a move himself. When something like this happens, the streets sometimes handle it on their own. That's why people are whispering that YoungBoy might have just put a target on his own back without even realizing it. Because when you make it YoungBoy versus the streets, you're fighting a battle that no amount of money, fame, or music can win. But here's where it gets interesting. There are people out there who think this was all a setup, not by YoungBoy himself, but by people in his circle who wanted to stir the pot. If that's true, then YoungBoy might not even realize how bad this looks for him until it's too late. Because whether he ordered it or not, his name is attached to it. And perception is reality in this game. And let's not forget the fans. Social media is on fire with this story. Durk's fans are outraged. YoungBoy's fans are defending him. Neutral fans are saying this is going too far. But at the end of the day, everyone's talking about it. And in hip-hop, attention is currency. The real question is, at what cost?